Darkness reigned in the endless corridors of Exodus 9, a colossal ark that had long sailed the cosmic sea in silent slumber. Within its labyrinth of steel and circuitry, rows upon rows of cryogenic pods lay dormant, a frozen testament to humanity's desperate bid for survival. Earth, once teeming with life, had been reduced to memories and ash, forcing the remnants of civilization into a future written among the stars. Then, as if stirred by fate, one cryopod shuddered. A thin film of frost began to evaporate from its surface as the pod's systems reactivated. The translucent dome slid open slowly, revealing a lone figure emerging into a world of dim, pulsing emergency lights. The man's eyes blinked in the cold air, adjusting to a reality that was both alien and intimately his own. His muscles trembled with the effort of awakening after centuries of induced sleep, a body reanimated by a mix of advanced technology and the relentless march of time. The figure, whose name lay buried in forgotten logs and half-remembered orders, instinctively scanned his surroundings. The corridor was a long stretch of decaying splendor, walls marked by fading insignias, control panels flickering with the ghostly remnants of their former brilliance, and a pervasive chill that spoke of lost decades. Every step he took resonated with an echo of the past and a promise of what was to come. His heart pounded, not just from the shock of reanimation, but from the dawning realization that he was not alone in his quest for answers. In the central hall of the ship, the once robust hum of the engines was gradually returning to life. The ambient sounds, a mix of creaking metal, the soft whir of reactivating machinery, and the distant, rhythmic pulse of power cells, crafted a symphony of rebirth. As he moved forward, the man's mind flickered through disjointed memories. Images of a vibrant Earth, the echo of laughter in bustling cities, and then the cataclysmic silence that had engulfed his world. Each memory was a spark, igniting a slow-burning fury deep within him. Revenge, a word as bitter as the void that surrounded him, began to take shape as a singular driving purpose. Navigating the corridor with cautious determination, he passed rows of cryopods that still lay in frozen repose, silent witnesses to a time when hope was stored in liquid stasis. The ship's logs, though scarred by time and cosmic radiation, revealed cryptic fragments of a forgotten mission. Brief flashes of coordinates and warnings suggested that Exodus 9 had once been more than a vessel of escape. It was an ark carrying the promise of retribution against an enigmatic foe, a foe whose actions had cast Earth into oblivion. Yet the details were elusive, hidden behind layers of static and time-worn code. Arriving at a chamber filled with dormant holographic displays, the man paused. The flickering images, renderings of a lush, vibrant Earth now swallowed by dust and silence, stirred a deep, conflicted sorrow within him. In those ephemeral visions lay the duality of his existence, the fragile remnants of a civilization and the burning desire to reclaim its honor. The holograms, though dim and distorted, whispered a message of both loss and possibility. They urged him to awaken not just for himself, but for every soul whose cryogenic sleep held the seeds of a future long denied. As he moved deeper into the vessel, each step was laden with the weight of destiny. The corridors, though marred by decay, now pulsed with a promise, a silent vow that the embers of humanity would be reignited. In the quiet, every creak of the ship, every flicker of a failing light resonated with the promise of rebellion and the inevitability of reckoning. There was an unspoken challenge in the air, a call to arms against the cosmic forces that had once erased his home. The Exodus ship, long adrift and forgotten, was awakening, its systems, once lifeless relics of a bygone era, now stirred with purpose. The lone survivor, a man reborn from the cold embrace of cryosleep, felt the surge of determination mingled with grief. In that moment, amidst the dim lights and silent corridors, he embraced his destiny, to be the harbinger of humanity's resurgence and the avenger of a world betrayed. The journey had begun, and with it, the promise of retribution that would ripple across the void, challenging the very forces that had condemned Earth to oblivion. The corridor beyond the cryogenic bay exuded a haunting blend of decay and latent purpose. Every footstep echoed against the time-worn metal, stirring up motes of dust that danced in the intermittent glow of failing emergency lights. The survivor moved with a mixture of caution and resolve, guided by the overwhelming need to unearth the truths buried deep within Exodus 9. As he ventured further into the ship, he discovered a vast central command chamber, its walls lined with banks of flickering consoles and holographic projectors. Despite the ravages of time, remnants of sophisticated technology whispered stories of a past where humanity dared to challenge the cosmos. The chamber was a mosaic of fragmented data streams and half-erased directives, a silent chronicle of a mission that had once embodied hope, and now a longing for vengeance. In the dim light, he approached a large, cracked display panel that still pulsed with intermittent energy. The holographic map of a star system slowly materialized, its pathways and waypoints etched in ghostly blue. Coordinates, barely legible, pointed to several distant points, a network of rendezvous locations and potential survivors. Among the data was a singular, unsettling note. The mission was not merely an escape from a ruined Earth, but a calculated effort to seek retribution against an enemy whose identity was masked by layers of secrecy and cosmic betrayal. His fingers trembled as he reached out, brushing against the cold glass of the interface. In that moment, he recalled the hazy fragments of memories that stirred during his awakening. Images of destruction, a planet once vibrant, now a shadow of its former glory, and a burning desire to reclaim humanity's lost honor. Every detail was a puzzle piece, urging him to piece together the full narrative of what had led to Earth's demise. A soft, resonant hum began to build in the background, drawing his attention to a secluded terminal tucked away in a corner of the chamber. The terminal's interface flickered erratically, as if struggling against the passage of time. Tentatively, he initiated a sequence, and a voice, distant yet measured, emerged from the archaic speakers. "Welcome, Survivor. This is the central archive of Exodus 9. Query your command." The brief dialogue was all that the terminal offered, a single line of instruction and an invitation to uncover its stored legacy. Ignoring the chill that ran down his spine at the disembodied voice, he began navigating through the fragmented files. One log in particular caught his attention. It detailed the ship's original mission, a desperate evacuation followed by a contingency plan for revenge. The transcript, though heavily corrupted, mentioned a directive of retribution against a faceless foe, suggesting that Earth's extinction was not an accident of fate, but a calculated act of aggression. As he scrolled through the records, the realization grew heavier. The enemy might have been responsible for not only the fall of Earth, but also the deliberate scattering of humanity into the stars. Outside the command chamber, the ship seemed to pulse with a newfound energy, a subtle vibration in the walls, as if the vessel itself recognized its master's return. The survivor felt the weight of the legacy he now carried. His awakening was not merely personal survival, but the rekindling of a mission steeped in sorrow and defiance. Every shadow in the corridor whispered memories of lives lost and battles unfought. The ship, an ancient relic in a merciless void, was beginning to stir with the echoes of its forgotten purpose. He then discovered an archive of personal messages stored in encrypted audiovisual files left behind by former crew members. In brief, subdued exchanges, barely more than murmurs between a commander and his second-in-command, he discerned hints of betrayal, sacrifice, and the determination to one day reclaim what was stolen. Their voices, though muffled by the passage of time, resonated with a raw humanity that transcended the cold mechanics of the ship. Each fragment was a testament to lives sacrificed for a cause greater than mere survival, a call for justice that now pulsed within his very core. Standing in the flickering half-light of the central chamber, the survivor made a silent vow. The data, the memories, and the haunting ambience of Exodus 9 had all converged to ignite a single, unyielding purpose: to revive the ember of humanity and exact retribution on those who had razed their home. With a measured breath, he resolved to piece together the scattered directives, to unlock the full potential of the ship, and ultimately to lead the charge into the dark unknown where the enemy lurked. As the ship's dormant systems stirred in response to his touch, a new chapter in humanity's story began to write itself. A narrative of reclamation, of forgotten souls rekindling their collective might, and of a vengeance that would soon echo across the endless void. The survivor pressed onward, driven by a resolve that cut through the silence of the ship's forsaken corridors. Every step echoed as if in a chamber of memories, each footfall a reminder of the lives preserved in stasis and the legacy of a once proud civilization. He made his way to a sealed passage marked Navigation, a doorway to the ship's guiding mind. The heavy bulkhead, scarred by time and neglect, resisted at first, its electronic lock long dormant. With a few deft adjustments and the echo of old command codes whispered in his memory, he forced it open, unveiling a dimly lit control deck. Inside, the room was a cathedral of technology. Dust danced in beams of weak light that filtered through fractured viewports, and a vast holographic star map shivered into existence on a central console. Despite its battered state, the device pulsed with a quiet, steady glow, a heartbeat of data linking the ship to distant worlds. Coordinates and routes, meticulously annotated in faded digital ink, sprawled across the display. Some markers were circled in urgent red, suggesting waypoints of critical importance, rendezvous points, safe havens, and perhaps even caches of armaments left for a day of reckoning. He paused before the console, his fingers hovering over its control panel as he absorbed the weight of its revelations. A series of encrypted messages scrolled intermittently along the lower screen. One snippet, distorted yet resonant, murmured, "Find the heart, find the path." That cryptic phrase struck a chord deep within him. It was as if the ghost of the long-departed crew had left behind a rallying cry, a call for a resurgence of purpose. "I will find it," he whispered to himself, his voice barely audible above the soft hum of awakening systems. Determined to unlock the ship's full potential, he set about reactivating the dormant circuits. His actions were deliberate, a careful dance of inputs and adjustments to coax the navigation system back to life. As the console's interface stabilized, the holographic map began to highlight intricate networks of energy conduits and power grids. Each luminous line traced pathways that once connected the ship's various defense modules and propulsion arrays. It was a blueprint of potential, a schematic that promised not only safe passage through the void, but also the means to harness a hidden arsenal. The survivor's mind raced with possibilities. If he could redirect these energies, he might awaken systems that had been silent for eons, turning Exodus 9 into a vessel of both reclamation and retribution. Beyond the console, the ship itself seemed to respond. The low creaks of metal and the occasional flicker of lights became a subtle symphony of reawakening, a chorus that heralded the vessel's readiness to resume its ancient mission. As he pored over the schematics, he noted several annotations in a hand long faded by time. They spoke of strategic outposts, safe coordinates for rendezvous with other cryovessels, and references to a final ignition sequence. Each note was a clue, an invitation to follow a carefully mapped trajectory designed not just for survival, but for vengeance against the unseen force that had shattered Earth. His thoughts were interrupted by a brief, distorted transmission that burst forth from the console's speakers. "Recalibrate, align, remember our oath," it urged, the voice echoing with both urgency and sorrow. There was no pause for dialogue, only the persistent drive to understand and to act. With trembling resolve, he initiated a recalibration of the ship's inert thrusters and defense mechanisms. The screen filled with cascading lines of code and schematics, a digital tapestry woven from remnants of orders and dreams. Each data packet he unlocked felt like an unraveling of the past, a mosaic of strategic brilliance and human resilience. Outside the navigation deck, the corridors continued to murmur with the ship's reawakened energy. The interplay of fading light and emerging digital glow set a surreal stage. It was as if Exodus 9 was coming alive, not merely as a relic of lost hope, but as an instrument of rebirth and reckoning. The survivor saved the decrypted coordinates to a portable drive, a small yet potent key to unlocking the next phase of his journey. Every highlighted route on the star map was a promise of hidden armaments, strategic caches, or perhaps even signals from other awakened vessels scattered in the cosmic dark. In that charged moment, he felt the burden and the thrill of destiny intertwining. The navigation system was not simply a tool for charting a course, it was the vessel's heart, a repository of its past glories and a beacon for its future retribution. As he stepped back, absorbing the significance of the data now at his fingertips, he vowed to follow the illuminated path. The coordinates, cryptic messages, and schematic details were all parts of a larger plan, a plan that would soon set him on a collision course with the enemy that had erased his home. The journey was only beginning, and with every pulse of the console's light, the promise of reclaiming Earth's legacy shone a little brighter. A series of winding corridors led him deeper into the bowels of Exodus 9, where the relics of human ingenuity lay entombed in silence. The ship's architecture shifted from functional corridors to vast, cavernous chambers, each whispering secrets of a forgotten era. His footsteps slowed as he approached a sealed bulkhead marked with an intricate emblem, a stylized phoenix rising from the ashes, a symbol of rebirth and, perhaps, vengeance. This was the entrance to the ship's armory, known in archived logs as the Arsenal of Shadows. With measured determination, he worked to bypass the archaic security protocols. The door creaked open on ancient hinges, revealing a dimly lit hall that stretched before him like a mausoleum of technology. Racks and cases lined the walls, each holding caches of weapons and defense systems, many far advanced than anything he had witnessed in his scattered memories. In the low light, the metallic sheen of dormant armaments glinted, and the hum of power from deep-seated energy cells gave the impression that the arsenal itself was alive, waiting for the moment to be roused from its slumber. Stepping inside, he paused to absorb the magnitude of the room. Shelves overflowed with modular energy weapons, compact devices capable of breaching fortified hulls, and remnants of experimental systems that had never seen battle. There were also relics, older, bulkier rifles and missile launchers that spoke of an era when brute force was the only language understood by the cosmos. The stark contrast between ancient and futuristic technology painted a tapestry of humanity's relentless pursuit to survive and to fight back. He moved slowly among the rows, each step resonating like a heartbeat in the silent chamber. His eyes scanned panels of schematics and battle plans etched into digital archives. Faded holographic interfaces still displayed tactical maps, annotated with red and blue markers. Some coordinates overlapped with the star map he had just calibrated in the navigation deck. A deliberate interconnection began to form, a network of hidden armaments positioned across the ship, ready to be activated as a prelude to a counteroffensive. The survivor's mind raced as he pieced together these fragments. Each device, each line of data, was a reminder that his ship was more than a vessel for escape. It was a war machine built for retribution. The ambience was thick with the weight of collective memory, the sacrifices and aspirations of those who had once manned these stations. In hushed moments, he imagined the voices of lost commanders, the echo of orders given in desperation, and the promise that their legacy would one day rise to challenge the darkness that had devoured Earth. As he ventured deeper into the arsenal, a central console caught his attention. The control panel was embedded in a reinforced wall, its display flickering with intermittent energy. He knelt before it, brushing away layers of dust and grime to reveal layers of encrypted schematics. The system outlined not only the ship's defensive matrices, but also a covert subroutine labeled Retribution Protocol. This directive, hidden from the casual glance of previous operators, was a contingency plan for the ship's ultimate awakening, a plan that, once activated, would integrate the armory with the vessel's propulsion and targeting systems to launch a preemptive strike against their unseen enemy. Intricate diagrams detailed a series of activation nodes scattered throughout the ship. He mentally mapped the locations against the star map coordinates, noting a pattern that suggested strategic positioning. It was as if the original architects had planned for a synchronized uprising, a moment when every weapon and defensive system would ignite in unison, transforming the dormant ship into an instrument of calculated revenge. The concept resonated deeply with him. This was no longer about mere survival, but about reclaiming honor, about igniting the spark of vengeance against those responsible for Earth's desolation. Before moving on, he carefully downloaded the schematics onto a rugged, portable drive. The weight of this data was immense. It was not just technical information, but a manifesto of resistance encoded in circuits and steel. He allowed himself a brief moment of reflection in the pale glow of the console. In that quiet interlude, the past and future converged, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with the promise of imminent action. Rising, he surveyed the armory one final time. The rows of weapons, the silent hum of hidden power, and the intricate network of systems were a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity, a spirit that had survived cataclysm and exile. The arsenal was not merely a collection of tools of war, it was a library of human resilience, each piece a chapter in the story of a species unwilling to fade into oblivion. With the blueprints of retribution securely in hand, he retraced his steps through the corridor, his mind now alight with the next phase of his journey. The ship, once a lifeless monument to past despair, had transformed in his eyes into a vessel of potential uprising. Every creak of metal and every flash of light felt like an affirmation of destiny, a sign that the time for retribution was drawing near. In that profound silence, punctuated only by the soft echoes of his resolve, the armory stood as both a sanctuary of memory and a forge for the weapons of vengeance. The Exodus ship was awakening not only in its systems, but in the hearts of those who dreamed of a future reclaimed by human tenacity. The labyrinthine corridors of Exodus 9 led him to an area seldom trodden, a sealed archival vault hidden behind a thick, rusted bulkhead. Its inscription was a cryptic mosaic of symbols and faded language, hinting at memories deliberately consigned to oblivion. With measured determination, he interfaced with an ancient control panel. The screen sputtered to life with archaic code and prompts demanding inputs of sequences long buried in the ship's history. After a tense series of trials, the vault's locks yielded, and its secrets began to seep into the dim light. Inside, the space was a cavern of dormant knowledge, a digital repository suspended in time. Rows of holographic terminals, draped in layers of dust and nostalgia, lined the walls. Each flickered with fragmented images, recorded voices, and encrypted data, whispers of a past that was both distant and achingly familiar. The interplay of cold light and drifting particles evoked a silent symphony of lost memories, as if the very air vibrated with the weight of untold stories. He stepped forward, heart pounding in the hush of the archive. Approaching the central console, he found a mosaic of documents, video logs, and encrypted messages. The files were a patchwork of voices, scientists, military commanders, and everyday citizens, each contributing a thread to the tapestry of Earth's final days. With cautious precision, he initiated a data retrieval sequence, his fingers dancing over the interface with both reverence and urgency. A holographic projection flickered into existence. A stern-faced woman in a lab coat, her eyes imbued with sorrow and resolute determination. Her recorded voice, measured and calm, began recounting the cataclysm that had befallen Earth. "The catastrophe was no accident," her voice declared, wavering with a burden of truth. "We were targeted, our resources stripped, our cities left to crumble. In our final moments, we fought to capture every detail, every trace of the adversary's design." Her words, crackling with age, resonated through the chamber like a solemn hymn to those lost, and a vow for future reckoning. As he scoured the data, the survivor uncovered records that painted a picture of deliberate annihilation. Detailed logs spoke of covert operations, advanced bioweapons, and hidden agendas. The narrative suggested that humanity's desperate flight into the void was not solely an escape from calamity, but a calculated gambit, a mission to gather strength and secrets for a day of retribution. Exodus 9 was not merely a lifeboat. It was a vessel armed with the legacy of human resistance and a blueprint for vengeance. One encrypted file contained faded schematics, mapping out a network of clandestine research stations and secret outposts scattered across remote star systems. Each coordinate, each annotation, hinted at technological marvels and experiments too dangerous for open disclosure. The plans spoke of propulsion systems and defensive arrays that far surpassed conventional designs. The intricate details provoked a surge of questions. Who had orchestrated these projects? What kind of adversary had possessed the might to engineer such devastation? Deep within the vault, another log surfaced, a final, cryptic message encoded within layers of security protocols. It read simply, "When the stars align, awaken the legacy." This ambiguous directive, layered with both urgency and mystique, ignited a resolute spark within him. It was an invitation to follow the trail left by those who had come before, a call to harness the collective memory and strength of a species on the brink of extinction. The archival chamber, alive with the spectral glow of holographic images and the murmurs of long-dead voices, pulsed with potential. Every data fragment was a testament to human resilience, a chronicle of defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. The voices of the past, now preserved in this sanctum of forgotten whispers, spoke of both a tragic downfall and an undying promise of reclamation. They were the silent witnesses to Earth's demise, and now they offered clues to the vulnerabilities of the enemy who had sown chaos across the stars. He spent what felt like an eternity absorbing the revelations contained within the vault. The gravity of the information, an intricate tapestry of betrayal, technological prowess, and strategic foresight, firmly anchored his resolve. Humanity's final defenders had left behind not only the blueprint for survival, but also the seeds of an eventual uprising. Each file, each message, further steeled his determination to unearth every secret and marshal every asset against the enigmatic foe. With painstaking care, he transferred the most vital files and schematics onto his portable drive. In doing so, he preserved the legacy of those voices who had once fought for Earth's future. As he closed the vault behind him, the corridor seemed to murmur in quiet affirmation. The weight of the past had transformed into the fuel for his mission, a mission to ignite the spark of rebellion that would challenge the enemy's dominion once and for all. Exiting the archive, the survivor felt a renewed sense of purpose. The Vault of Forgotten Whispers had not only revealed the hidden truths of Earth's last stand, but also provided the roadmap for humanity's next chapter, a chapter where the silent memories of the fallen would become the clarion call for a resurgent force, determined to reclaim its stolen legacy. Beyond the archival vault, the corridors of Exodus 9 began to narrow and pulse with an energy that was almost tangible. The survivor followed a series of winding passageways, each step taking him closer to the vessel's deepest secret, the core reactor chamber. The air grew warmer, charged with latent power waiting to be reborn. With each careful stride, he could almost sense the heartbeat of the ship, a faint rhythm of dormant energy urging him onward. At the end of a long, narrow corridor, a set of massive reinforced doors loomed before him. Their surfaces were etched with intricate schematics and symbols, remnants of an era when every detail was meticulously crafted for survival. He paused, recalling the digital footprints left in the archive and the armory, and pressed his palm to a console embedded beside the doors. After a series of calculated inputs and a tense moment of silent anticipation, the doors slowly groaned open, revealing a cavernous space that housed the long-forgotten power core. Inside the chamber, colossal conduits and pulsing energy lines converged around a vast cylindrical reactor, the heart of Exodus 9. The reactor, shrouded in a dim blue glow, lay dormant yet alive with potential. Its surface was a tapestry of etched runes and technical glyphs, symbols that had once guided its operations and now whispered promises of renewal. The air was heavy with the hum of static energy, and every movement sent ripples through the charged atmosphere. He stepped forward, his eyes drawn irresistibly to the central control interface mounted on a weathered console. Dust motes danced in the beams of light that struggled to penetrate the chamber, and the control panel's faded icons flickered sporadically, as if remembering their long-forgotten purpose. The survivor knelt, his calloused fingers brushing over the panel as he initiated a diagnostic sequence. The screen burst to life with cascading lines of ancient code intermingled with modern encryption, a digital dialogue spanning centuries. A moment later, a faint holographic figure materialized before him, a spectral visage of the ship's long-deceased commander. The figure's eyes, though rendered in ghostly light, held an expression of calm resolve. In a soft, measured tone, the apparition spoke. "Welcome back, guardian of our legacy. To proceed, you must awaken the core, balance the ancient rites with our technology." The words, sparse yet laden with meaning, resonated in the quiet chamber. The survivor's response was silent, his determination unwavering despite the surreal nature of the encounter. Focusing on the control panel, he carefully reviewed the parameters needed to reactivate the reactor. The schematics detailed a complex dance of energy flows and magnetic alignments, a procedure that demanded both precision and a deep understanding of the ship's engineering. With deliberate keystrokes, he adjusted the controls, reconfiguring power channels and recalibrating the magnetic dampers. Each input sent a ripple of energy through the reactor's core, causing the blue glow to intensify and its pulse to quicken. A soft alarm chimed, a reminder of the delicate balance between dormant potential and explosive force. The holographic commander reappeared, offering a quiet admonition. "Steady your resolve. The core awakens only for those who are prepared to bear its burden." With each passing second, the energy within the reactor began to surge. The air vibrated as power coursed through the conduits, lighting up dormant circuits across the chamber. The once quiet hum transformed into a resonant crescendo, echoing the ship's rekindled spirit. The survivor's heart pounded in sync with the reactor's pulsing light. Every fiber of his being recognized that this moment marked a turning point, not only for the vessel, but for the legacy of humanity it carried. In a final decisive action, he initiated the final ignition sequence, a process that would fully integrate the ship's core with its navigation and weapon systems. His fingertips danced over the controls as he input the last of the required codes, a combination that felt as much symbolic as it was technical. For an agonizing heartbeat, silence reigned. Then, as if stirred by an ancient command, the reactor roared to life. Waves of incandescent energy burst forth, illuminating the vast chamber in a cascade of light and shadow. The conduits glowed like veins of power, and the hum of energy grew into a deep, resonant vibration that filled every corner of Exodus 9. In that charged moment, the ship transformed from a relic of despair into a living monument of human defiance, a vessel poised for retribution. As the reactor reached full operational status, the holographic image of the commander offered one final brief message, his tone both somber and hopeful. "The heart is ignited. Now, carry forth our legacy and reclaim our destiny." The apparition faded, leaving the survivor alone amidst the pulsating energy of the newly awakened core. With renewed determination, he rose from the console. The chamber now vibrated with promise, a promise of movement, of speed, and of the impending confrontation with the forces that had forsaken Earth. Every system of Exodus 9 was coming back online, and the ship itself seemed to breathe with anticipation. The core, a blazing beacon in the darkness, was no longer dormant. It was a call to arms, a declaration that humanity's fury would soon be unleashed upon those responsible for its downfall. In that pivotal moment, as the ship's inner light transformed the darkness into a canvas of potential, the survivor knew that there was no turning back. The journey toward vengeance had reached a new, irreversible stage. The core was ignited, and with it the promise of retribution burned brighter than ever before. As the core's brilliant radiance permeated every chamber of Exodus 9, a new, almost imperceptible hum began to resonate throughout the vessel, a sound that was not solely mechanical, but the whispered heartbeat of countless dormant souls. The survivor, still awash in the glow of the reactivated reactor, turned toward the expansive cryo bay where the silence had reigned for centuries. Here, rows upon rows of cryogenic pods, once encapsulated in an icy stasis, now shivered with the promise of reawakening. The ship's newly revived systems began sending gentle pulses of energy along specialized conduits embedded in the walls. A soft chime echoed as sensors detected a shift in ambient temperature, a signal that the conditions for reanimation had been met. One by one, the cryopods stirred, frost dissolved, and translucent panels slid open with a hushed hiss, unveiling the slumbering figures of humanity's last guardians. The survivor's eyes widened as he witnessed the slow, almost reverential awakening. A cascade of light danced upon the pods, activating integrated displays that shimmered with cryptic symbols and time-worn messages. The silence was soon filled with a chorus of mechanical exhalations and the soft, rhythmic beeps of reinitializing systems. In the midst of the dim corridor, he paused, watching as a lone pod released its captive. The emerging figure blinked rapidly, disoriented yet driven by an innate pull toward consciousness. "Welcome back," the survivor murmured softly, his voice carrying the weight of hope and resolve. There was no formal ceremony, no grand announcement, only the quiet, electric acknowledgement of a purpose reborn. One by one, more cryopods began to awaken, each releasing another soul from the depths of induced slumber. Some staggered forward uncertainly, while others rose with an air of latent determination, their eyes slowly adjusting to the revived glow of the ship's corridors. In the central bay, the ship's audio systems, now fully online, transmitted a fragmented but unmistakable directive, an orchestrated call to awaken. The message, encoded in both ancient command protocols and the lingering memories of a long-faded broadcast, urged the sleepers to reclaim their place in the legacy of Earth. The digital tones meshed with the steady cadence of the reactor's hum, forming a solemn anthem that resonated in every awakened mind, a summons to rise, to unite, and to prepare for the reckoning that lay beyond the void. The awakening was not chaotic, it was methodical, as if the very design of the vessel had anticipated this moment. The cryo bay slowly transformed from a silent crypt into a bustling nexus of reanimation. Figures emerged, many still in disarray, their expressions a blend of confusion and budding purpose. Some instinctively sought the guidance of the survivor, while others gravitated toward interactive panels that offered brief, cryptic instructions on reactivating their personal interfaces. In hushed corridors, a few voices exchanged tentative greetings, their words measured and sparse. "Where are we?" one individual asked, the tremor in his voice betraying both awe and uncertainty. Another, a woman whose eyes shone with a fierce glimmer of determination despite her disoriented state, replied quietly, "Somewhere between a dream and our destiny." Their dialogue, brief and almost ceremonial, underscored the surreal gravity of the moment. The survivor moved among the newly awakened, guiding them gently toward the central hub of the ship. In the dim light, the legacy of Earth was palpable, etched in the architecture of Exodus 9, in the data etched onto holographic displays, and now in the revived souls who carried the ember of humanity within them. Each person bore the weight of a forgotten past, yet their emerging expressions held an unspoken promise to reclaim what was lost and to forge a path toward retribution. He took a moment to scan the faces in the crowd, reading the silent questions and burgeoning resolve in their eyes. There was no time for extensive introductions or nostalgic reminiscence. The mission ahead was monumental. The information salvaged from the vault, the blueprints of weaponry in the arsenal, and the coordinates etched into the ship's navigational memory all pointed to a single, uncompromising truth. The enemy who had extinguished Earth's light was still out there, and now, with humanity's legacy rekindled, the time for retribution had come. A brief intercom announcement, resonant and measured, filled the space. "Awakened souls of Exodus 9, the legacy of Earth stirs within you. Stand ready to reclaim our honor and to face the darkness that once claimed our home." The words, though few, ignited a spark in the hearts of all present. The survivor, now both a guide and a symbol of renewed hope, knew that this collective awakening was the critical precursor to their long-awaited vengeance. In that charged atmosphere of reanimated hope and quiet defiance, the Sleeper Legion began to mobilize. The vessel itself, a relic of lost eras and shattered dreams, was transformed into a cradle of renewed purpose. As the awakened souls gathered, their eyes turned toward the star-studded void beyond the viewports, a vast expanse that now beckoned them to rise, to confront, and to avenge the memory of Earth with the full might of humanity reborn. The moment of destiny had arrived. With the ship's core ablaze and the Sleeper Legion now fully awakened, Exodus 9 emerged from the sanctuary of its inner sanctum into the vast, star-strewn corridors of space. The once dormant vessel now roared with renewed life as it charted a course toward coordinates long sealed in the ancient archives, a destination marked by the signature of annihilation. In that silent expanse, the glowing nebulae and distant pulsars bore witness to the final act of retribution. At the helm, the survivor, now both guide and beacon of humanity's resolve, stood before a panoramic viewport. The holographic star map, once a cryptic puzzle, had been fully deciphered, revealing a dark sector where an ominous citadel of alien design loomed. This colossal structure, a labyrinth of angular metal and pulsing energy, was the enemy's stronghold, the very heart of the force that had decimated Earth. The coordinates converged on this place, and with every beat of the ship's reawakened heart, the mission of vengeance surged stronger. The command deck buzzed with controlled intensity as crew members, once lost in the depths of cryosleep, moved to their stations. Their expressions, a mixture of cautious determination and fierce resolve, reflected the gravity of the moment. The survivor issued terse, measured orders that resonated through the quiet hum of the vessel's systems. "Steady course. Prepare for engagement," he intoned, his voice carrying the weight of promises made long ago. In the brief exchanges that followed, each order was a silent oath. Earth's legacy would not be forgotten, and those who had extinguished its light would now face the full fury of human defiance. Outside, the enemy's bastion loomed larger with every passing second. As Exodus 9 approached, advanced sensors detected a fleet of shadowy vessels encircling the citadel, like sentinels of an empire built on destruction. The ship's integrated defenses, forged in the blueprint of retribution and now aligned with the awakened core, began to hum with lethal purpose. Energy conduits pulsed rhythmically, powering an arsenal that had been primed for this very confrontation. In a moment that blurred the lines between fate and calculated strategy, the survivor initiated the redemption protocol. The ship's thrusters roared to life, propelling Exodus 9 out of the void in a sudden burst of speed that drew the enemy's attention. A series of dazzling energy beams erupted from the hidden armaments, carving incandescent trails through the darkness. The enemy vessels responded with a synchronized barrage of counterfire, a storm of alien plasma and encrypted weaponry. Amid the chaos, the silence of the vast void was replaced by the symphony of combat. The crackle of energy, the resounding thumps of shield impacts, and the steady, unyielding roar of a ship redefined by vengeance. As the battle raged, the survivor maneuvered Exodus 9 with a blend of intuition and hard-won technical mastery. Every evasive twist, every calculated strike, was a testament to the ingenuity of a species that had been forced to reinvent itself in the absence of its home. The enemy's firewalls and defense grids, though formidable, began to falter before the relentless surge of human resolve. In a brief, hushed exchange over the internal comms, a voice soft yet resolute whispered, "For Earth, for those we lost." The words, though few, were carried by the wind of destiny and echoed across the battlefield. One by one, critical enemy systems faltered under the coordinated onslaught. The colossal citadel, once a symbol of alien supremacy, shuddered as its outer hull was breached by a cascade of directed energy. In a spectacular finale, the enemy flagship erupted into a burst of radiant disintegration, scattering particles like cosmic embers against the black canvas of space. The tide of battle turned inexorably in favor of the awakened Legion. Each fallen adversary, each shattered defense, was a step toward the ultimate vindication of a people who had known nothing but loss. With the enemy's forces retreating into the darkness, a profound silence reclaimed the void. The echoes of combat slowly faded, replaced by the steady hum of a ship that had fulfilled its destiny. Standing once more before the viewport, the survivor gazed out at the remnants of the shattered enemy fleet. The sight was both haunting and triumphant, a stark reminder of the cost of survival and the price of retribution. The restored light of the cosmos now shone a little brighter, as if acknowledging the rebirth of a spirit that could not be quenched. In that defining moment, as Exodus 9 continued its journey through the star-speckled void, the legacy of Earth was etched anew among the constellations. The final reckoning had been met not with surrender, but with a resounding declaration that humanity, even in its darkest hours, would rise to reclaim its destiny. The vessel and its awakened crew had not only exacted vengeance, they had ignited the promise of a future where hope, resilience, and the unyielding drive for justice would light the way forward in the infinite night.